Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And you know, a question that I always get asked is, what is a Boer? What is an Afrikaner? What is it about them culturally that makes them Boers? And let me tell you from my own personal experience, especially in the last year, the Afrikaners, the Boers, the white people generally in South Africa are an amazing and stoic race. They are just so proud. They are so determined. They are so, what's the word for it? They are just so focused. And probably one of their greatest failings is that they fail to work together. And they know that. They tend to go off in their own little ways. And you'll hear this guy who's in the video that's attached talking actually about that. But they are an amazing people, and they have had so much persecution through the generations. Anyway, I've rambled on enough. Please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates, and have a great evening. Bye for now.
Well, I'm a boer. That's the easiest answer. Now, when you talk about the word boer, you're going to understand there's about three different definitions. The first one being boer, as in translated from English, is a farmer. So that's in Afrikaans, we call it a boer. The second is the cultural collective, the people, called the Boer people. And that's like the Chinese or the Xhosas. It's a collective, it's a cultural, it's a minority in South Africa. That we've got a proud history, traditions, we've got characteristics, and we had Boer republics, we fought in the Anglo-Boer War. So that's a group of people that associate with the term Boer. And then you get the third definition, which is when people stand with placards saying, kill the Boer. Well, they're referring to white people at random. They're not referring to the farmer or the collective that associates with the term Boer. They talk about white people when they talk about the Boer. Now, to come back to what I am a Boer, I associate with is my people, the collective. Our ancestors came from Europe. We are from European descent, mainly Dutch, German, French, British, and we're kind of a outdoor spirit. We love building things. We love life. We love hunting and fishing and building empires. We've got a bit of a short temper as well. We've got to be honest about that one. But it's just a group of people that shares this same kind of idea and spirit and way of life. Later on, the term Boer was replaced by the word Afrikaner for some people. It's not exactly the same thing, but it's close enough to understand which group you are referring to. It's basically the conservative part, the conservative community within the whites in South Africa. And it's people who associate with the tradition, the history, the culture, the religion, very religious people. And if you put that into a boiling pot, then you get the Boer, as in the collective. The leaders of the Boer, that's a bloody good question, eh? Have you ever heard of the phrase herding cats? Well, if you want to be a leader of the Boer people, it's like herding cats. We're very individual, and everybody's got its own plan. I don't know, there's a phrase called a boer maak 'n plan. It's a boer makes a plan. And we all have some kind of plan or idea. And it's quite difficult to be a leader of a lot of individual people who all of them has got their own idea or plan. There are some organizations with good leaders. I'm not going to mention names now, but there's good leaders, there's good organizations. I think the problem is we don't have enough followers. That's the main concern. We don't have this one leader that inspires us all to get involved. We've got great guys doing great things. We've got guys that maybe they're not really qualified to be a leader. They've got a great idea and a great passion for what they're doing, but they're not a charismatic leader. They can't get the people involved, get them energized, get them inspired. So at the moment, it's a bit of a problem because you've got a lot of good leaders, even great leaders, but everybody's on his own mission, doing his own thing. So yeah, at the moment, you can get a leader in every community. Every community's got good leaders. We've got great leaders in the business sector. We are leaders in agricultural sector. We've got leaders in law, medicine, you name it. We've got a lot of great leaders in different positions, but in the political sense, there's not a lot of leaders that's got the ability or the power or the footprint at the moment to have the mandate of the Boer people as a whole. And I do believe they are working together, but there's no one leader that I can single out at the moment. Maybe in time one of them will step forward. Who knows? What does anybody want? I think at the moment we'll take safety and jobs and infrastructure that works. We'll take basic services. We'll take that. But the real Boer spirit, and I think this is something that people need to understand, is to be free. We came from Europe to be free from whatever what was going on there. We came to the Cape. From the Cape, again, we had the voortrekkers moving away. We want to be free. And that's the thing inside us. It doesn't matter. The guys in Australia are doing such a great job in highlighting the situation in South Africa, etc. But me going to Australia is not going to help. I want to be free. One of I see him as a bit of a mentor. Me and him's got this deal that once the day we've got some kind of self-determination or even independence and we stand under our own flag, me and him is going to drink a bottle of whiskey. I don't even drink whiskey, but that day I will drink whiskey, because that's the goal. The goal is to be free. It's not about, on the short term, we want safety, we want jobs, we want all these things that everybody else wants. But the moment you've got all these things, then this freedom aspect is going to come. That's what we want, freedom. And it's ironic that in 2018 we're sitting here and talking about freedom, but that's the one thing we don't have, the ability to govern over ourselves. No. 100% no. Look, what you need to understand about apartheid is apartheid was a political system in which human rights were oppressed. People were oppressed. Human rights was denied. When people, and I do get it that some people refer back to it was better in the good old days of apartheid, etc., etc. They are not referring to the political system of one culture dominating over another. They are referring to the idea that they had a community and a school where the language, the culture, the religion was something they could associate with. It was their own. All right? And that shouldn't be confused with the oppressing of others. And as long as you confuse those two terms with apartheid, then you won't understand what we are saying. No race or no culture should govern over another culture, especially if they're from different races. It's not gonna work. Look, a lot of people say the ANC government is such a bad government, and they're doing a bad job in terms of management and corruption, etc. But understand, they've got 11 languages. They've got millions of people from different culture wanting different things. How are you going to manage it? And the government is in the situation where they need to govern. They've got the boer, which is a handful. They've got the EFF. They've got the Zulus. They've got all these groups, and everybody wants something else. They don't want to really share, and you've got to govern that all. It's a hell of a difficult task. It's nowhere has it been done successfully. Multiculturalism has nowhere been successfully implemented on a large scale. Yes, you do get cities or areas in which people come in some kind of cosmopolitan environment. That's one thing. But for one culture to govern over another culture, how can they know what I want? And if they know what I want, why would they give it to me if it's in contrast to something they've got planned? It doesn't work. Do we want apartheid back? No, no, no. We don't want to govern over everybody. We don't want to take the rights away from everybody. What we want is what we want for everybody. The Zulus must govern over the Zulus. The boer must govern over the boer. And we will live in harmony because they will have their place where they can govern in their culture, in their context, in their religion, and nobody will bother them. And the same with us. And then in some kind of confederate model, there can actually be a way forward. But as long as the boer governs over the Zulus is going to be upset. And understandably so. And that's exactly what's happening here. We are upset because things that's important to us is just ignored. And we're not going to one day wake up and accept it. It will not happen. This is part of who we are. We don't want apartheid back. We acknowledge that in apartheid, a minority group oppressed the majority. That's understandable. But no one in his right mind would ever want apartheid back. We are our own worst enemy. You know, the ANC or the government or Julius Malema, whoever, they get up in the morning, they've got goals to achieve, and they've got a plan to achieve those goals. We don't have those plans. We don't have those goals. In fact, some people are too afraid or too shy to admit that they are boer. Now, if you are too afraid or too shy to admit who you are, you're afraid of your own identity. How can you love that identity? And how can you fight for it if you're even too afraid to admit it? And that's the problem we're having. We're not involved in our own future. We don't realize that this is a fight for survival for a minority group. Once we get to that point where we can be proud again, we can say, listen, I'm proud to be who I am and what I want. This is my goals. My goals is not oppressing other people. It's not based on hate. It's about survival. It's about growing my own culture. It's about our little place in the sun. Then we can work towards that goal. But currently we're just moaners. You know, the guys in Australia, they protest farm murders, and there's more people involved there than at home. How's that? What does that say about us? We're not even involved in our own problems. We want everybody else to come and solve our problems. Except us. We don't want to be. Once we've got a plan, let's say we've got a plan, we've got self-determination in mind, this is how we're going to do it, and it's an acceptable plan. By all means, then we can go to the Australians and to whoever, say, but this is our plan, guys, this is what we want to do, support us. But to wait and to see if somebody else is going to help us, where's the pride in that? We are our own worst enemy at this moment. You know what, as I already said, Julius gets up in the morning, he's got a plan and goals to achieve. We don't have plans, we don't have goals. We're not involved in our future. He's involved in his future, in his people's future. And that's the major difference. So you can say about Julius Malema whatever you want, but he's got a better plan than you've got at the moment, than we've got. And that's the sad part. I think people misjudge or underestimate the power of Julius Malema. I think what he's done in a couple of years is much more than we achieved in 2.5 decades. And we should respect that. You should never get into a position where you underestimate the guy sitting across the table. And I don't fear Julius Malema. Don't get me wrong. But I do acknowledge and respect what he has done, because it's more than us. And that's something to think about. Yeah, look, land is an emotional issue. It's an emotional topic. Fear is a bit of a strong word. I don't think you should fear anything. Um, will we have to face this reality? Yes, we will, and we will see what happens and what is the law and how can we fight the law, and we've got means to do that. So I don't think we should fear anything. We should be logical about this, and we should see this as another obstacle or another challenge in our bigger picture, in surviving as a culture, as a group of people. Fearing it and going into panic, it's not going to be worth your while. We do what we do best, and that's continue working. Our success is at the grace of the Father and by working, not by fearing something or going into a panic. It's just a useless emotion to start panicking or fear. We will face it. We will face it. Well, first off, we need to wake up. We need to realize our situation. We need to get out of this illusion that South Africa is going to magically turn around and get better. It's going to take effort and hard work. There is a future within your people, within your minority group. There's things we can do as a minority, which would help our future, cement our future. But it's going to take work and effort, and people need to realize that. People need to start thinking outside the box. We should stop with these old ideas, and we should really get together and make new plans and be creative about what we want, how we're going to achieve it in a sensible manner. And that's the thing, if we wake up and we get this Buddha Renaissance going, and we get energy inside our people, then there's actually a lot of things that we can do. But before we don't realize that, before we don't wake up, it's just going to continue on the same level. There's no way it can change if you are not involved and changing it. It takes hard work. No, big businesses doesn't care about us, and it's very simple. We're not politically correct. It's not politically correct in South Africa to support the Boer people. Nobody will do that in big companies. The political correct thing to do now is to support every and each initiative that's English and doesn't have too much white people in it. So we are on our own, and we must realize that again. Even the biggest agricultural union in South Africa sit with this problem that they've got boere, and again, boere referring to as farmers of different cultures. Some of them are farmers that are Boer culture, and some of them are farmers that are different culture. And even they have trouble in supporting us because, again, it's just different cultures, but it's under the Boer farm. So no, big companies doesn't care about us. They care about making money, and they're not involved. They don't. If you go ask a big company for support of the Boer people or our culture or whatever, they just won't support it. We're on our own, and it's the sooner we realize that, the better for us. They're not going to help us. Freedom. Freedom, freedom, freedom. That's the one and only wish there can be. Being free from the whole idea of somebody else governing over your future. To have the freedom to have institutions in your language, in your culture, in your way of life, without offending anybody else, without oppressing anybody else, without hurting anybody else, but to have schools and universities where our children can learn within our culture, within our language, for farmers not to fear when they go to sleep at night because of effective policing, because there's only one culture involved that you need to take into account. Governing over ourselves. That's the one and only wish there can be for any people. if you have that and you screw it up, well, that's on you. But there's a lot of countries and a lot of people all over the world that's got a country where the government speaks the same language as you, they have the same religion as you, they have the same culture as you. That's probably nice. That must be nice to have a government that sees your way of life as their way of life, which you can associate with something we don't have. Something, our schools, our universities are English now. We don't have universities in our language. Our culture is everywhere being pushed out. To have a piece of land somewhere where your culture is being protected, where you have the opportunity to create something for your own people, that must be nice, because it's something we don't have, and that's something we want. We really want it. We want self-determination. We want freedom. We want to govern over ourselves, not at the cost of anybody else. We don't want to oppress anybody else. We don't want to insult or offend or injure or whatever anybody else. We only want the right, and this is a basic human right, to govern over ourselves and to have some kind of say in our future. If we can have some kind of say in our future, then it's up to us. But yeah, that would be my wish. That would be nice.